Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be showcasing all 75 skill tree abilities from the 9 various skill trees in Jedi Survivor. But before we get into the showcase, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time Andreas and I upload the latest and greatest Star Wars and Jedi Survivor content. Now with that out of the way, Andreas, do you want to go ahead and take the first skill tree and start showcasing these awesome abilities?
Yep, there's so much to get through, so we're just gonna go straight on through them here, beginning with dual wield. You can start off at the bottom of the skill tree with the backstep slash. For this one, you're gonna hold L1, then press square to attack and leap backwards, creating distance from the target. Up next, you've got uncoiled strikes. For 2 skill points, you can delay square input to perform a flurry of quick targeted swings. And you can build on that ability for 1 skill point with Serpent's Bite. All you have to do is hold square through the flurry to execute a strong final overhead swing to add a bit of punch. Up next, you've got the split reflection ability. For 2 skill points, all you have to do is press L1 right before a blaster bolt hits to split the incoming bolt and reflect at an additional target. Up on the left-hand side of the skill tree, you've got focused parry. For this one, you're going to hold the triangle button, and then when an incoming attack arrives, you're going to release triangle, and Cal will perform a focused parry here. You can even upgrade that parry for 2 more skill points with precision release. When you release triangle right as an enemy hits, you will perform an even more devastating follow-up attack and stagger nearby enemies. Up at the top of this skill tree, you can upgrade your saber throw. For 2 skill points, you will unlock Twin Vipers. For Twin Vipers, you're going to hold L1 and triangle like any ordinary saber throw, and then press triangle again to throw the second blade at your target to double up damage. And for 3 skill points, you can hold triangle down and throw both lightsabers, and they'll bounce between multiple targets, performing the dancing blades animation.
The first skill ability in the double-bladed stance for 1 skill point is Gathering Tempest. By holding square, you will deal fast strikes towards a single enemy. Next up, we have Vortex Dive. For 1 skill point, you will be able to hold L1 and press square to dive forward while spinning the lightsaber. Following that, you have Double Orbit. For 1 skill point, you will be able to press triangle again to perform a second lightsaber throw around Cal. You guys all know what animation I'm talking about there. Up in the middle is one of my favorite abilities. You have Endless Hurricane. For 1 skill point, you will be able to continue pressing square to add an additional attack to the end of the double-bladed attack chain. It's really cool. You guys got to see it. Next up, we have Repulsing Burst. For 2 skill points, you can press triangle while airborne to slam down, dealing damage in an area. Above that, we have Rising Storm. For 2 more skill points, you can hold triangle to perform an attack that pulls enemies in a small area and takes Cal into the air. Next up, we have Multifold Reflections, which for 2 skill points, you can hold L1 right before blaster shots connect to reflect them back towards nearby targets. And finally, you have Controlled Throw. For 2 skill points, you can hold L1 and triangle to throw the lightsaber. You will keep triangle held to maintain the lightsaber's position, and then you will use the left stick to actually direct it around so you can control it. It's very cool. It's a really cool ability. You guys got to experience this one.
Up next, with the highly coveted and highly anticipated combat stance here, the Blaster lightsaber stance. First off, you can spend 1 skill point to unlock the Flying Lunge ability. It's going to spice up this stance by allowing you to hold square to close the distance to your enemy with a leaping thrust. Up next on the left-hand side of the tree here, you can start off by spending 1 skill point to unlock Blaster Cooldown. This one's super important because it allows you to gain additional ammunition each time you strike an enemy with the lightsaber. And then you can further upgrade your ammunition capacity by spending an additional skill point for Improved Clip. This will allow you to increase your maximum blaster ammunition by a whole 3 shots, which is very important. Might not seem like a lot, but it really is. And then all the way at the top here, we've got Energizing Flurry. For 3 skill points, you can hold L1 and press square to perform a sequence of quick swings that rapidly replenishes ammunition if they connect. This is super important to getting ammunition back quick so that you can start shooting with your blaster again. Then you can pay 2 additional skill points to unlock the Efficient Heat Transfer ability. This will reduce the time required to fully charge a blaster shot. Over on the right hand side, we have somewhat of a blaster parry here with the point blank ability. For 1 skill point, you can press triangle just before an enemy hits you to blast them away. This one is a super cool animation, and I highly recommend that you guys unlock this one. Up at the top is probably one of the most cool abilities in this game, period. It's the quick draw ability. I want you guys to think Red Dead Redemption here with the Deadeye, where you can paint targets on enemies and then shoot them all away. For 3 skill points, all you have to do is hold L1 and triangle to focus and target multiple enemies at once with your blaster, and you will blow them all away. Super cool ability.
Next up, we have the Crossguard stance. For 1 skill point, you will get Rending Strike, which by holding square, you will perform a single high damage swing with a long windup. Next up, we have Impact. For 2 skill points, you can press triangle while airborne to slam into the ground, causing a shockwave. Next to it, we have Greater Impact. For 1 additional skill point, you can increase that shockwave range. Next up, we have Greater Cleaving Swing. For 1 skill point, you can reduce focus attack charge up time. Right above it, you have Reaching Cleave. For another skill point, you will actually increase the range of Cleaving Swing. Over there in the middle, you have Sundering Swipe. For 2 skill points, you will hold L1 and press square to perform a wide sweeping lightsaber attack. Over on the left, you have Charged Reflection. For 1 skill point, you will press L1 right before a bolt makes contact to send a charged bolt actually that hits the target and nearby enemies. And finally, the last Crossguard skill tree ability is Rolling Thunder. For 2 skill points, you will hold L1 and triangle to throw the lightsaber in a line through multiple targets. It is a really cool animation. Highly recommend upgrading the skill tree to get to this one.
Last but certainly not least is the vanilla flavor of lightsaber combat stances. But guys, don't worry, you can spice it up with some of these abilities here, starting with the Lunging Strike. For 1 skill point, you hold triangle to perform a long-reaching thrust attack. It's going to increase the range viability of this stance. And to increase range even further, you can add on improved footwork, which increases the range for Lunging Strike for the cost of 1 additional skill point. Then over on the left here, we've got Twofold Reflection, which just like previously, it allows you to press L1 just before contact to reflect up to 2 blaster projectiles in a row for 1 skill point. In the middle of the tree, we have Aerial Assault. For 2 skill points, you can press triangle while you're in the air to attack straight down at a target below. Then we've got Dash Strike, again adding more range to the stance for the cost of 2 skill points. You can hold L1, then press square to dash and strike a target out of normal melee range. Then we've got Aerial Dash Strike, which for the price of 1 skill point, you can unlock the ability to perform Dash Strike while you're airborne. Over on the right hand side, we've got Cyclone Slash. This is a really cool animation. For 2 skill points, you can hold square after a basic attack to perform a powerful overhead swing. And then we've got Charge Throw. For 2 skill points, you can hold L1 and triangle for a stronger lightsaber throw. And then the last ability here is Aerial Ace. For 1 skill point, triangle aerial assault does more damage, and it even staggers enemies who are hit by this ability.
Next up, we have the survival tree. The first one is for 1 skill point survival skills. This just increases Cal's maximum life. Next up, we have improved stim formula. This will allow Cal to recover additional life when using a stim canister. Above it, we have perfected stim formula. Again, just another additional life stim. Teamwork, which for 1 skill point will reduce the time required to heal with BD1 stim. Right above it, we have the power of friendship for 2. BD1 stim canisters will actually refill some of the force meter. In the middle, we have improved survival skills. Again, just an increase to the maximum life. Then we have Focus Sight for 2. You will hold circle to automatically evade incoming melee attacks. Then we have Greater Reflexes, just refills the block meter even faster for Cal. And finally, we have Expert Survival Skills, again, just an increase to Cal's maximum life. This one costs you 2 skill points.
Kicking off the first Force skill tree here, the Confusion skill tree. This is all about the Mind Trick ability. You've got Addled Mind. For this, you will be able to increase the amount of time that enemies will attack other enemies while they are influenced by your Force Confusion ability. Then you've got Confounded Mind, where you increase the amount of time enemies will attack other enemies. Then you've got Greater Confusion. All you have to do is hold R1, then press circle after confusing a target to confuse an additional enemy. You've got Amplification. This will allow confused enemies to deal additional damage. Then we have Redirected Strength. For 2 skill points, all you have to do is hold L2 and then press R1 while holding a pulled enemy to force them to fire their weapon. It's a really cool ability here. Then we've got Superior Confusion, where you can successfully confuse otherwise resistant humanoid enemies. And last, we have Confusion Mastery, where you can successfully confuse even the most resistant humanoid enemies.
The second to last Force skill tree is the Jedi Concentration. The first one is Attunement. For 1 skill point, Cal's maximum force is increased. Then we have Greater Hold. By pressing L3 and R3 together, you'll increase the duration of Slow's effect on enemies. Next to it, you have Extended Hold. The first strike against enemies affected by Slow will not break the Slow effect. That is for 3 skill points. Then we have Superior Hold. Again, this just further increases the duration of Slow's effect on enemies. Then over on the right, you have Channeled Energy. Cal will regain more force when he defeats an enemy and regain some force when he hits a blocking enemy. Right above it, you have Swift Focus. Using Circle will increase force recovery when performing a successful precision evade. Then in the middle, you have Lucid Attunement for 2 skill points. Again, an increase to Cal's maximum force. And the final Jedi Concentration is along that same pathway. This is Enlightened Attunement. And for 2 skill points, Cal's maximum force will be increased to the maximum ability.
Finally, we've got the Telekinesis skill tree, which is my personal favorite of the 3 Force skill trees in this game. You can start off with Wrenching Pull. All you have to do is press L2 and R2 to wrench groups of nearby enemies closer to you. Twin Pull. While holding an enemy with pull, press triangle to pull and hold a second target. Then you have Unrelenting Pull. All you have to do is hold L2 to affect the largest and most force-resistant enemies. We've got Radial Push, which by pressing R2 and triangle to push a wide area, causing multiple enemies to stagger. Then we have Howling Push. For the price of 2 skill points, you hold R2 to push enemies in a much larger radius and with a greater effect. Then you have Parry Push, which by pressing R2 right before an enemy attacks, you will send them flying. This is one of my favorite abilities because it gives you an additional parry in this game. Then you have Soaring Lift. Hold R2 and triangle to lift your target as well as nearby enemies. You've got Mass Slam, where you hold R1 and triangle to slam groups of enemies. And then you have Power Slam, where you hold R1 and X for bigger hit reactions from affected enemies. Then you have Gravitational Mastery, where you increase Soaring Lift and Mass Slam radius. And one of my favorite abilities here is Power Lift. You can hold R1 and triangle to lift even the largest enemies in this game. This one looks super cool.
Alright guys, there you have it. There are all 75 skill tree abilities in Jedi Survivor. Let us know down below in the comments what your favorite skill tree abilities in this game are going to be and what you have the most fun with when you experience this game. But that's going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.